Good evening, wizards, and welcome to episode 30 of the Crypto Wizard podcast. Again, how have we even made it to 30 weeks so quickly? It's beyond me. Time is absolutely flying, but my goodness, is it going to be a phenomenal month? Not just for the cryptocurrency market, but also for Crypto Wizard as well. Now, before anything, what we are going to go through in this podcast is going to be a little bit more life oriented because the market right now is going pretty smoothly. The trades are running in profit. We've got BTC running over 500 pips in profit at the present point of recording after capturing yet another phenomenal short from a fairly solid region of 8,500 at the peak of the movement. It's looking like BTC may finally be scrapping that upside bias and going in to tackle that $7,500 region, dipping down to 7,200. Now, we're at a very crucial point in the market right now. We are currently holding that 7,950 support region incredibly well, and I do believe if this does give way, that pretty much leads the final open road to potentially hitting $6,000. Now, whilst it's not something to necessarily focus on too heavily, it is a very solid region that we're interested in, and it's a bonus level, so to speak. The market could very well be reversing from this region, and that's why I've been suggesting to continuously be buying those physical cryptocurrencies. You should be dollar cost averaging at these regions in the event we do not hit $6,000, because this is our first point of potential reversal to gear up for a bull run around that $8,000 to $8,500 region. So if you've seen my BTC end of year projection chart, it's looking incredibly precise to actually unfold. So even if we do not hit $6,000, the stop losses are already in profit for this potential margin trade short, and I've been buying physical cryptocurrency around this zone. So overall, it's a win-win situation right now, and it's in our best interest to be utilizing this time correctly. The market's currently consolidating, the trades are all in profits. Even XRP hasn't necessarily moved too much, but it is currently in profit. So we're still lingering around that region. We're only around 25 pips in profit at present, but the stop losses are at break even. We're holding our regions ever so precisely, and it could provide a very sharp surprise downturn movement towards that 20 cents region before actually gearing up for a market reversal. Now, the region we're at for XRP is absolutely crucial. If we break above this zone, we should be pulling back to retest 0.2550, and we will be looking to go long to actually capture a phenomenal movement to the upside. So for the time being, we're remaining on the short bias, but the stop losses are now secured in the event we do see an upside breakout. So we're fully prepared across all corners, and you should be buying the physical cryptocurrency right now, regardless of if it falls lower or not. It's as simple as that. Physical crypto right now to actually be adding to your portfolio is a phenomenal opportunity. It cannot get any better. Obviously, if it does fall, it gets even better. Do not invest everything right now, but I cannot stress how important these zones are for long-term investment. You should be dollar cost averaging around these regions by all means necessary. If it's £2, £3, £4, it does not matter. As long as you are involved in the market from these price points, it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity, even if it dips lower. So putting that aside as well, the market cap 67% now on BTC dominance. Just to put that in perspective, we are seeing a slight reduction, especially as some of the alts are battling against BTC's downfall right now, which is currently down alongside Ether almost 0.3% today, whereas XRP is actually up 0.3%. And then we've got the likes of Bitcoin Cash almost up 1%. So there's a bit of an inverse correlation today. BTC dominance dropping. It has been flowing quite smoothly back and forth. So it's adding up to paint a nice picture. And whilst those trades are running, I thought, why cover the market again? Why go over another breakdown? I'll be providing video updates anyway. And it's more importantly this is the whole point of Crypto Wizard. I'm not here to just give you calls. And again, I'm not a signal group. It's not a signal service. I give calls. I give my trades out for free for you guys to then emulate and use in line with your own analysis. I will never say buy now or sell now. I will always let you know when I've entered a trade and exited a trade. You're essentially following my every single step without it being a non-educational method. Again, signal services, never agreed in them, never liked them, and they, to be honest with you, they don't really work too well. There are several people who run very, very profitable ones, and there's some very good traders I know that do so, but for me personally, the majority, the ones I know actually provide education, but the majority, they do not give you education. You will never learn simply buying and selling and copying someone else's course, because if they disappear one day, you will never have the education. But the whole point of CryptoWZRD is to change that. It's not just about calls. Alongside these calls, you will receive life advice. It will be philosophical. It will be psychological. There will be all kinds of different strategies and implementations to actually integrate into your overall life strategy for how you want to achieve your dreams. This is what it's about. It goes way further than simply just trading. So on that topic, again, as per, I asked Twitter, the community as always, what do you guys want to learn about today? And Go Getter King at @king_getter gave a very, very good one. And he said, if you're an employee again today, what would you do and how? So let's actually go through that. Let's go through maybe some of the mistakes. Let's go through what I would have done better. And let's just go through what I would do at this very present point in time, knowing what I know, experiencing what I've experienced, and actually having the courage and the testicular fortitude, so to speak, to actually break out of that 9 to 5 and take that leap to leave that day job and pursue a path of freedom. This is what it's all about. So if I've done it, then it's only right I tell you guys how I done it. And then from there, you can, even if it's just 1% of what I give out, you could potentially utilize that to change your own life, to pave your own way how you've always wanted. So let's actually just think about this for a second. Let's go back to if I was an employee today. We'll actually go back to what I would have done, not for my very first job necessarily, because in the beginning, no matter what you do, when you first start off as a kid and you get your first job, you're in your teens, you're here in nearly your 20s, you're new to making money. You may have had some pocket money here and there, but you're new to making money. So in the beginning, what I would actually do, and it's something that I actually did do in the very, very beginning, is I spent a lot of it in the very, very early stages. I mean, when I was actually doing some of the very simple jobs, when I got my first retail job, actually, I was earning around £750 a month. I was in sixth form at the time as well. I was just working in sixth form, doing all of these jobs, and I was working in retail, doing 3 days a week, late nights as well. I was working in a suit shop, and I was selling ties, suits, shirts, you name it. It was just a little job to keep me going. But at that point in time, when you're just a student, and sixth form, that would be college for many of you guys as well, if you're in the US especially. Sixth form is basically a UK equivalent, which is attached to the secondary school you went to. So when I was in secondary school, obviously high school for many of you, the sixth form is an additionary college that's essentially attached to that entity. So I went straight there. I just knew I wanted to be a trader. I knew that no matter what I'm learning here, I wasn't listening, I wasn't paying attention, I wasn't doing too well in class. Besides media, for example, it was one of my strongest subjects, because for me, I've always had a passion in gaming, in editing, in visual effects, graphic effects, and all that design stuff. So that was the only real thing that made me thrive. It was the only thing that gave me the drive to actually go to school or actually do something and learn. And there was points where I was teaching the teacher how to do graphic effects. And it's funny how the Wizard team overall, we've actually ended up doing exactly this. We've actually ended up forming a like-minded individual of Wizard team members who, as you've probably seen from the CryptoWZRD platform, the graphics effects, the game, all of this stuff that's coming forward. And I'm going to be revealing this very soon. There's a big surprise coming and a big reveal with Battle of Wizards, because my goodness, is it going to be phenomenal. So make sure you guys are subscribed, you've got post notifications on, because there are big things coming at the end of this month and I cannot wait to reveal them. And the next thing to come is going to be Battle of Wizards. So putting that aside, what would I do from my very early stages? And let's just say from when I first got my first few jobs, I would actually spend a lot of that money, because you're new to it. And although in your younger years you should be saving, you have to remember when you're 16, 17, you're still very young. Now, of course, the wise thing to do would obviously be to save it all. But as a kid, that can be very hard, because you've never received money before. And suddenly, you no longer are dependent on your parents. You no longer need to ask. You've suddenly, when you get your first job, even if it's a few £100 a month, a few $100 from whatever it may be, that's your first hard-earned bit of money that you've gone off your own back to achieve. And this can be very overwhelming in the beginning, especially as a young teenager. You're making more money than you've ever seen in your life. And in your head at that time, a few £100 or a few $100 is borderline rich. You look around at your friends and, they may not have jobs yet, or they may still be struggling. They're only doing a few days. But if you're in college and you're making money, like for me, £750 a month, working 3 days a week whilst at college, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do with myself. Suddenly, every single item of clothing I liked, or any single kind of trip I wanted to take, I could almost afford to do so. Now, £750 is absolutely nothing in the real world. And once you become an adult, this is meaningless. It will not get you anywhere in life. And it's funny how $100 or £100 as a kid would have made you incredibly wealthy. You could have achieved anything you wanted with that money. You could have gone anywhere and it would have fit within your budget. But it's funny how £100 in the real world as an adult is the equivalent of £1, to be honest with you. It's funny how as you start hitting adulthood, those pennies suddenly become a lot less worthy, and it's suddenly you need a lot more money to get by. It's essentially $1,000 or £1,000 in the adult world is the equivalent of going and disappearing like £100 would as a kid. It just disappears because adult life is expensive, it's costly, and the quicker you realize that and the quicker you prepare yourself for that, the quicker you will achieve everything you want in life. Now, you would have seen my article called Risk. It was decoding the myths of risk, and it was available on CryptoWZRD.com. You can check that in the download section. There was one thing I mentioned about the 9 to 5, and at the end of the day, when you leave school, you're not taught about taxes, you're not taught about mortgages, you're not taught about VAT, you're not taught about saving. There's nothing we are taught about that prepares us for the real world. Now, what I would have done if I was an employee again today, pretty much what I've done anyway, to be honest with you. So I don't even need to tell you what I would do again. It's more so what I did do that got me here today. Now, in the beginning, spending every single penny, and that went on for a few months, maybe even half a year. That £750 a month was my first real good income, especially whilst at college. Now, back then, I wasn't too caring of anything materialistic. I just wanted nice things. I've always wanted to have nice things in life. I've always wanted, very cliche, enough money to do what I want when I want. And if you've seen, how I may reflect this on Instagram, I never want to sell a dream. I never want to sell a lifestyle. I just want to show you that it's attainable and it is very possible. And that's what I do. I do not show stuff to flash it. I just show you that it's possible. That all of these things, to be honest with you, that people aim to achieve in life, things that people strive for, the supercars, my McLaren, for example. I've had 2 McLarens now by 24. I've got the Range Rover, I've had Mercedes. I've done it all. I've done the trips, I've done all of this stuff. And to be honest with you, it only makes you happy temporarily. Now, traveling is a whole different aspect, and that's something I'll be getting into as well, because traveling is one of the greatest ways to awaken and elevate yourself and actually break free of the mindset limitations of where you are born. But this is also something I wanted to get across. Like, materialistic items, they do not bring long-term satisfaction. They do not make you happy in the long run. And if you continue to only strive for money to buy you materialistic items, you're never going to be happy. There will never be fulfillment in your life. You're going to be stuck chasing the next best thing. Now, if I was so obsessed with money, then you almost get caught into that trap. Let's just say I bought the McLaren, and then suddenly my friend buys something better. They buy a LaFerrari or a Bugatti. If you're that obtained and obsessed with materialistic possessions, your whole goal in life becomes a competition. You're not only competing with yourself, which in some aspects is very, very good, but shifting yourself before you even begin to work, or even if you are currently working, shifting what you are working for and your mindset, and shifting what you're actually focusing to attain with this wealth you're trying to gain, you need to be sensible. You need to understand and have a goal of what exactly you want in mind. Now, if your goal in life is just to buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari and get a mansion, then by all means, that's completely fine. It's down to what drives you. But from my personal experience, it hasn't brought me much more happiness than anything else. Yes, it can be fun after a stressful day to get in a McLaren and just blast it. It's stress relieving. It feels good. It makes you feel like you've achieved something in life, but it doesn't, once you're out the car, that's it. It's not there anymore. Once you're out the car, or once you're out of a nice house, or once you've left the holiday, you're back to square one. So the first thing I'd do if I was an employee again today, and something I did do in the beginning, is I always saw myself as wealthy from day one. Even when I didn't have a lot of money, when I was literally struggling, when my parents weren't really giving me too much, they'll get me by. My parents helped me every single way whatsoever. I never necessarily struggled in a sense that I was homeless, or that, I was gone for a few days and I couldn't survive. I've always been able, if in the worst case scenario, if my parents needed to give me £10, £20, £50, not hundreds, not thousands, but if they needed to give me the necessary amount just to eat food, then I've always had that. I will never lie and claim that, I came from dead poverty, come from working class background, and for me, that enough is a trap. A lot of us come from a working class background, not a middle class background, a working class background. And my biggest motivation in life was understanding this, and understanding that it's almost a game. I've always viewed life as a game, and when you first start working, you should view it as a game. You are in a game online game. Imagine GTA Online or any other kind of RPG game even. Online, it's a real world with millions of people. You're all in an open world, you can do whatever you want, and the goal is to eventually elevate to achieve a higher rank or a higher status. It's like Call of Duty Prestiges. We're all in this world together. It's basically GTA on a worldwide scale, and I wouldn't be surprised if GTA in the future actually starts mirroring real life more. Our goal is we've been thrown into this game, we have to find a way to complete it to the best of our ability, because the game, it's limited. We're time sensitive. Life is short. We do not have enough years to achieve what we want. So it's in your best interest not to work as hard as possible, because for me personally, hard work does not outweigh smart work, but then smart work does not outweigh hard work. It needs to be a perfect combination of both. And that means getting creative. That means looking around you. The first thing I would do in the beginning, if I was just starting off, is I would treat myself first of all. Always, no matter what happens in the beginning stages, just treat yourself for a paycheck or two. Do not go into debt, but treat yourself. Let yourself know what it's like to actually reward yourself with money. Because then, once you've got it out your system, you know that with hard work, you can now buy bigger things. You can now achieve bigger things. You can go to bigger places, go to better places. This is how it instills into your head from early, just by spending a little bit. When you get that first taster, it becomes addictive. And then from there, if you can obviously find the willpower to disattach and disassociate from that materialistic spending, or even spending on books. A lot of my money, it was on books. It wasn't even on materialistic items. Yes, I got excited in the early days. I used to go and buy Gucci belts or Louis Vuitton belts to fit that persona of looking wealthier than I did. And I have no shame in admitting that. When I first started off, I was trying to be that person that, because I was making more money than my friends, it was only £750. But in my head, if I went and bought that Gucci belt, if I went and bought that backpack, if I went and bought this, that, I would look even wealthier than I was. But then what wasn't occurring in my head in the early stages was, well, you've got all of these items and you look wealthy, but is your bank account reflecting that? Are you suddenly in that bracket where you can actually afford to be that person that can afford those clothes? We have to remember, this is something that's always stuck in my head, especially in the UK. There's a big theme when it comes to people that make money, especially younger teenagers. The biggest trap they fall into is trying to be like these rappers, trying to be like these celebrities who have millions. They make hundreds of thousands on a show. These artists, they get booked out. A lot of people want to become pop stars, or rappers in particular. They are predominantly role models in this day and age. You've got Cardi B being a massive role model for girls right now, and it's crazy. You've got all of these rappers, like, again, using Cardi B as an example, a lot of people look up to Offset, a lot of people look up to these very famous people. You've got DJ Khaled, P. Diddy, you've got Jay-Z, wealthy people who are providing the right image and the right role model authority, so to speak. Someone like P. Diddy, DJ Khaled, Jay-Z, Meek Mill, these people, they show you that it's not just about making money and spending it, it's about investments, it's about businesses. But not many people go that far. Many people just go for the surface level, and there's no substance to this. You have to remember the people who, again, let's just say Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Prada, and I can't be bothered to go into it, Balenciaga, you know the drill. All of these brands. Now, these items, they can cost £1,000 for jeans, £1,000 for a t-shirt, 3 to 4, sometimes £10,000 for jackets. Now, these people, they buy these items because they can afford them. They make a few million, they go and spend 50,000. They can do that without denting the bank. But when you are starting off, your goal should not be to make money, work a whole month, slave away in that 9 to 5, only to come out at the end of the month with a Gucci belt to show people you've made some money. That's not what real money looks like. Now, you may have seen that picture. It's Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. They're always together, whether it's in McDonald's or wherever they are. Normally, they are located, and this is very smart. This is a very smart thing I've noticed Bill Gates does in particular. He always shows himself eating at a certain place or drinking a certain food that he has invested significantly in. Again, Warren Buffett, Coca-Cola, all of this stuff that he is heavily invested in on McDonald's, he shows and tells people that he only ever eats there and he only ever drinks this. Very smart stuff. Now, have you seen the picture of them two together where it says, you know, billions in net worth, but not a single Gucci belt in sight? Do not let this trick you, because these people also spend hundreds of millions on resorts, on islands, on luxury condos, and all of this stuff as well. They're all doing this on a much grander scale, but the theory does remain of these people have a lot of money, but they do not need to spend it on materialistic items to show they have money. Your net worth is a lot more impactful than your network. Now, there is a saying that your network is your net worth as well, and this is important because it's not just about where you work or what you do for a living. It's about who you work with, who you're associated with, what are your friends doing in your spare time. And the first thing I would do from now, if I was to go back into employment, I would look at the people around me. This is the first thing you have to realize. The employment you're in you should not be looking at this as a long-term career. You should not be going into your employment thinking I can then work my way up to here, there, and then in a few years I can retire. This is the wrong mindset to have and the completely wrong approach to all of it. The way you should be looking at this and the way you should be doing this is I should try and elevate within this position or within this company as much as possible to make as much money as possible in the shortest time possible. That means looking around me. My friends, first of all, are they supportive of my decisions? Do they understand my goals? When you actually start off in a working environment and when you actually start going into employment, a lot of your friends are within the same mindset as you. They all want to make a bit of money to maybe go and buy some games, maybe go and buy some clothes. There's a big detrimental impact with your circle if they're not aligned with your visions, or more importantly, do they at least understand that you do not want to be working forever. You want to take risks. Many people cannot comprehend that there's more to life than a 9 to 5. There's more to life than making money. There's more to life than being enslaved in a 9 to 5 job and a corporate job where they do not care for you. And this is the harshest reality of life. The companies you work for do not care for you. They can replace you in any given moment. You are nothing more than a barcoded identity that does its job, and if you do not perform the job too well, you will be replaced. And this was the first thing that I realized when I first started working and I actually started dipping into the corporate world to get some real world experience. I noticed that you're instantly replaceable. If you mess up, if things go against you, you will be replaced. And this is something you have to realize. If they're viewing you, even if it's for a long-term perspective, they view you as having a career. At the end of the day, the bottom line is you are only a short-term statistic. The company will keep going without you. There will be new replacements. You are irreplaceable. This is one thing that scared me and one thing that stuck to my head straight away. And the first thing I'd done after spending some of that money was looking around me. Look at the people you're working with. If you're young or if you're old, there are people there in your workplace that will be in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, maybe even their 70s. And you have to look at these people and evaluate and answer the question of, are they happy? Have they achieved what they wanted in life? And it's very commonly that the answer is no. They are not happy. They are not satisfied. They are still paying their mortgage. They may still be paying university fees. They may still be paying debts. You have to use these people, as harsh as it sounds, as almost leverage. You have to use these people as inspiration to do the opposite. You have to go into that workplace, even look at your family, your friends, whoever it is who's in a place that you do not want to be in. You have to use these people as life lessons. They have chosen a path in life which will not obtain you to achieve the goal you desire, which means you have to look at these people. You have to look at their daily habits, their traits. And that's one thing I've done in the workplace for 2 years in particular. In one specific workplace in a corporate job, I just sat there and I used to listen to conversations and I used to engage in conversations and get to know these people. Now, I wasn't there as some kind of spy to realize what they were doing wrong and then learn from it. But whilst I'm there making money at this workplace, you may as well gain something beneficial from it. And look at the people around you. Do these people still have that outstanding university debt? Do they still have college fees? Are they still paying for mistakes they made in their childhood? Now, you as someone starting off in employment should look at this, as naive as you may be when you're young. You can utilize this. Now, I have many followers and all of the people within the Wizard family and all of you guys in this community. A lot of you are under 20 years old. Now, I'm only 24 years old myself, but many of you guys who are under 20, I would absolutely kill to start life again. From even 10 years old, I would absolutely kill to do so, knowing what I've learned so far. And that's very commonly the case because the majority of us that come from a working class background, we're not taught how to handle this because our parents have not been able to figure it out themselves. So it's now down to us as the next in line to crack this code. And that's a promise I always made to my family. I will crack that code, I will figure it out, and I will change my life. And it's something, somehow, some way, through whatever means and many, many means necessary, I've made it happen. And I've realized now that I've done it, it's contagious. It's a disease that once you've had it, you do not want to break free. Once you've realized that money can be attained through other means than a 9 to 5, it's a burning fire that unleashes. It becomes addictive. I've now had several businesses by the age of 24. I started at even one point whilst I was at sixth form as well, I was selling segways. That's something I've told a few of you about before. I got segways from AliExpress. I started figuring out how to do this. Alibaba, just figuring out how can I make money, especially when, again, looking at hype. This is a great way to make money. What's the biggest trend right now? I'll never forget when the swegways or segways, whatever you call them, first came out. People were going crazy. Suddenly every celebrity had a Segway. So what do? Supply and demand. There is a huge demand for Segways. I went onto AliExpress, Alibaba. I spent about 2 weeks of intensive research, reviewing absolutely everything I could. I found the best suppliers. I ordered my first bit of stock. How did I buy that stock? I saved money from working. I saved everything I possibly could, because at the end of the day, it's not about saying, do you know what, I'll eventually save and I'll have some money in the future. Your goal is to always have money liquid in the bank. That's the first thing you should be obtaining whilst you've started employment. One of the crucial things of working in an office place or a 9 to 5, there's 365 days in a year, and you only get paid in a retail job or any corporate world or any corporate entity. If you're within employment of a 9 to 5 job or any form of job whatsoever, you're very likely going to only be paid 12 times a year out of 365 days. That is absolutely frightening, which means you have to wait a month to get paid again. What happens if something drastic occurs in between that monthly payment? What happens if a business opportunity arises? And I very quickly realized this when I started associating myself with more business-minded people, people that had investment opportunities. And even if they didn't work, I was sitting there on the sidelines with no money. I had my Gucci belt, I had my Louis Vuitton belt, I had my Gucci and Louis Vuitton trainers, I was going Balenciaga, I had all the crazy goods. But guess what? I wasn't able to capture opportunities with liquid capital to actually potentially catch an investment that could have made me that Gucci belt back in profit. Then I could have spent the profit and still had my original money existing. And this is one of the biggest goals that I've realized in life. Anything I buy now is with profits. It's with profits only. That way, if you're spending profits and the more you reinvest the original capital you have, eventually your profits are going to outweigh your spending. And that's when you've won the game of life. When your income far outweighs your life expenditure, you have completed life. You have officially won, and you can do whatever you please. And that's the goal. Because when you're working in a normal job, you think, well, I'll just sit here, I'll work my way through, and eventually I'll be earning so much money every month that I'll be fine. Then I don't mind being in this workplace anymore. But what happens throughout that whole process of you trying to gain a bigger career? What about you trying to get a promotion, a pay rise? It can take years. It can take a phenomenally long amount of time. But guess what? Throughout that period, if you're smart, if you're saving that paycheck, if you're reducing your overheads, you are going to be in a substantially fortunate position to capture any opportunity that life throws at you. You will be able to do anything you please. And this is something I very quickly realized. I was using my workplace as an environment to sell Segways. I was using this as at school. I was, going around college, this. Guys, Segways, guess what? They're crazy. Everyone wants them. I've got them. People would buy. And it's about being business minded from a young age and using the people around you. I've always said this in any kind of topic or podcast or whatever it is where I've spoken about this. The people around me, the people that they're 50, 60 years old, they've got a family, they're struggling, they can no longer afford to take those risks. Once you start hitting your 50s and 60s, the ability to take risks quickly diminishes. So you have to realize in your infant stages of even employment, whether you're 16, 17, 20, 30, up to your 50s, even in my 50s and 60s, I'll still be taking risks because I've realized the key to success is taking risks. And that's why I've written that article. Again, make sure you check it out because it will put you perfectly in line with what I'm saying here. Now, when it comes to employment, it's about making short-term sacrifices, and it's the same for everything. This year is a great example. I've started Wizard with the Wizard team, CryptoWZRD. The Wizard group, there are crazy things happening. This whole year, guys, I've been living off 3 hours sleep. I've barely been sleeping. The team have barely been sleeping. We've sacrificed everything for the longer term picture. And this is something, Wizard is the best example of short-term sacrifices for a long-term game. I know that if I spend a whole year creating one of the best platforms the market has ever seen, I'm not in a rush to launch this. I don't care how long the people want it, until it's perfect, until it's ready for the entire population to actually learn something and gain something from it. It's not done, and that's something I've been working on. And I've realized that this year I've only been out 2 or 3 times, to be honest with you. I've only, I haven't really done anything. I've only been on one holiday this year, where I was normally doing 2, 3 a month, sometimes twice in a week. I was living that life, and I've put that on the side because I know that by making the short-term sacrifice, the Wizards can live a free life for the remainder of their years. Now, when you put that in perspective, what is a year in comparison to the remainder of your life? living a free and successful and fortunate and prosperous life. You have to look at this beyond just the short-term focus, and this is something that everyone within the 9-to-5 enslavement is trapped within, because you're stuck on learning and earning 12 times a year. All your focus is the next paycheck, the next paycheck, the next paycheck. But why don't you think and actually instead take that paycheck, save it as much as you can? Because what happens if that paycheck you've saved now, someone comes up to you, you see a cryptocurrency investment, you see a business investment, you see an investment of some kind, and you can tell I'm getting a bit passionate about this now because this is something I love to promote because I know it works. What happens if after 2 to 3 years of working your ass off in a 9-to-5 corporate job, or any job for that matter, it could be labor, it could be anything. If you are making income, you are doing better than not making an income. I don't care how much it is you make a month, I don't care what it is you do for a living. What you do as a profession does not matter. As long as you are making money and receiving something from it, you are in a fortunate position. There are people out there who do not even have jobs. There are people out there who cannot get jobs. There are people out there with disabilities that do not allow them to get jobs. If you are fortunate enough to be healthy, you are wealthy in itself. That alone, to be healthy and to be fortunate to even attain an income, is a blessing in itself. And that's something I've always realized very quickly. I've seen how factors that are not even our own fault. It could be a disability given at birth. It could be a defect. There could be something wrong with you. Something can happen later on down in life. If you're in a position to make money, you should be utilizing it. And I realized that quickly by avoiding going out every Friday, by avoiding spending that paycheck after every payday came. I quickly realized I was ahead of the majority. I was already on set and on track to achieve something that others could not. Whilst my peers were going out every Friday, going to the pub, that stupid, that British tradition. Let's go to the pub every Friday. Let's spend all our money. These people were spending money on everything, on stupid things. Your paycheck is going on beers. It's going on drugs. It's going on clubs. Like what is wrong with this generation in short terms? What is actually wrong with this generation? How have we come down to this point in time where this is our priority? This is our focus. Why are we so obsessed with watching the Kardashians, for example, keeping up with the Kardashians? We're so busy with keeping up with the Kardashians, we're not keeping up with our own lives. We have been shifted into a mindset where we're so focused on how well other people are doing, we are not worrying about how well we are doing. And this is something we need to snap out of. And this starts from the corporate job. When you're sitting in the workplace, I quickly looked around us. They're all reading the newspapers. They're all keeping up with the latest headlines. The gossip, the drama. The prince has done this. The queen has done that. The princess has done this. This celebrity's done this. Kim K's wearing Prada sunglasses today instead of Dior. It's outrageous. It's a headline article. Why do we care? Why do we care? There are more important things in life to worry about. Now, whilst I was in the workplace, whilst everyone was keeping up with the Kardashians and everyone was keeping up with what's going on next, so Scott Disick bought a new car. Or maybe Kylie Jenner's bought a new car. What's going on? This is crazy. Oh my God, is Kim in Santorini right now? That's crazy. I don't care. I do not care. But what I do care about in that same time was learning about investments. I was going on Vanguard.com. I was going on to Barclays Stock Master. It was called Market Master back then. I think it's called something else now. I was looking into ISAs. I was utilizing the majority of us in a workplace. If you're not in labor, you are using a computer. You are sat at your desk. And I guarantee you, whether that's on your lunch break, if you're not allowed to use your computer for any other means throughout the workplace, you have lunch breaks. You have time after work. Any free time you have, whilst the majority are spending their money and whilst the majority are utilizing their free time to relax during your early years, this should be, even in the office, I was sitting there whilst they're looking at the news, I'm looking at investments. I'm looking at how to turn this paycheck I'm about to get at the end of the month into more money. What if I invested even 10 or 20% of that paycheck and converted it into a new source of income? Now, the biggest confusion can be, I don't know how to make more money. I don't know how to get a new source of income. And the truth is, you will never know if you do not look, and that's the problem. Everyone thinks just stocks or shares or Forex or this, that. You could buy and sell items. You could do e-commerce. You could do drop shipping. There are so many things you could do. You could create beads. You could start stitching boxes if you wish. You could do customized boxes. Money can be made from all means necessary. You could sell rocks. You could sell dust. You could sell dirt. There are bags of air from Drake's concert, which went for like 100 grand. People make money in crazy ways, and we have to utilize the stupidity of humanity. And at the end of the day, human beings in general are pretty dumb. They're pretty clueless. We've been dragged down into this, I don't even know what it is, it's a dark hole of mess, of inconsistency, of a lack of caring, a lack of decision making and pride to change our life. You have to utilize this. Look around you. In that workplace, everyone there that has been there for 10, 20 plus years are still chasing that dream paycheck. They're still chasing that pay rise. And eventually, if you leave yourself in that position for too long, your life will become dependent on waiting for that pay rise. And by then, your living expenses, your costs, your debts, your direct debits, your outgoings are all correlated with you waiting on that next pay rise. You'll probably be up to your guts in debt by then. This is not what you want to be doing. You want to be from your early stages. You do not have to be antisocial. You do not have to miss out. You can still go out every now and then. But if you are not leaving that month before the next paycheck comes with some form of savings in your bank, if your bank account is not healthier than the prior month before, you are doing something wrong. Every single month, if you are achieving a paycheck every month, then your bank account should remain higher than the prior month. If your bank account is remaining the same or less than the month before, you are doing something wrong. You should not, by any means necessary, have a bank account smaller than the month before. If you didn't have an income, and let's just say you were not allowed out of the house and you were strapped down by all means necessary, and I was just paying you $5,000 every month, for example, you would have a bigger bank account. So why is it when you are still in that opportunity and you are working for it, if you're sitting there and I gave you $5,000 every month, you would probably, if you have the right mindset, you would have more money every single month. If I gave you 10 or 100,000 every month, then I should most definitely hope you are having a larger balance at the end of the month for doing nothing. So why is it in a work environment where you are working and slaving away every single day, getting up early, brushing your teeth, going toilet, showering, getting ready, wearing the same outfit or an outfit that they've told you to wear, or a suit or a tie, you are going and doing every single thing by the book. You're going out your way, you're going into that office, you're having limited lunch breaks, you are going through essentially glossy and shiny slavery to achieve someone else's dream. So why is it when you're doing that and you're being rewarded for it, you're spending that money, you are blowing that paycheck? You wouldn't do it if you were sitting down all day and you were just making money for free, or if you knew that you were going to receive 100 grand and then you won't be able to work or make money for a whole year, you would save that money. So why is it when you're actually working for it, you cannot save it? It's a backward society we're in right now, and we have to change this thinking. If you're smart throughout your early years, you could start investing even in an ISA, invest in mutual funds. One of my biggest ways to create an additional source of income was the Forex market, was trading cryptocurrency, and of course investing in ISAs and mutual funds. Mutual funds were easy, just invest in an index and have a long-term horizon. Absolutely everything you do should be fixated on a long-term investment perspective. You should not be looking at your paycheck every month. You should be looking at what happens if I save this paycheck every month? What happens if in 5 years' time I have this much money by saving this amount? If I get a pay rise, guess what? I will not go into further debt. I will not spend more. Instead, with this pay rise or whatever it is, a new role or a new position and more money, I can now save even more. I do not need to spend more because I've been living comfortably within my means anyway. And once again, this is what I'm saying about the whole materialistic side. If you're happy with yourself, if you're happy with your own company, you should be spending that money on self-education or investments in your early stages. What many people do not realize is even 5 years or 10 years is short term in comparison to the rest of your life. The goal here, no matter what happens, guys, you should always be looking at how you want to live the rest of your life. If what you're doing now is a struggle, if what you're doing now is a pain, if what you're doing now is a burden and you hate it and you can't deal with it anymore, guess what? It will never be like that forever. Nothing remains the same forever unless you allow it to. And what you will not realize in the moment is every sacrifice you make right now, every single decision you make to better your life is one step forward than the day before. If you are stuck in a position right now where you hate your life, or things are not going well, or you're not happy, or you cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, that's because you're working towards the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's coming a lot quicker than you expect. And if you can buckle down, if you can save your money, if you spend the money on books, do not spend it on alcohol to then urinate it out the next day. You're spending money to urinate, essentially. If you're just spending all your money going clubbing, that's how I view it. You are going to a club, you're spending majority of your paycheck only to go toilet the next day and it all leaves your system. What's the point? Have you worked a whole month to go to the toilet? That's essentially how I viewed it. Spending it all on food and clothes. Well, guess what? The majority of your day is you're working anyway. You're in a different outfit. So why are you spending all this money to impress people that are in the same position as you anyway? You're in a workplace. You're all on the same income in your department. So why are you spending that income to look like you're wealthier when in reality you're all earning the same income anyway? It's like me. Let's just say I was making 15k a year. 15k a year, very low income, minimum wage essentially in the UK. The people you're working with are all on 15k. Now, if I go and spend that monthly paycheck and I go and buy myself some designer clothes or something fancy, or even go and get a better car, guess what? The people you're working with, they're making the same money as you. You are not better than these people. You are in the same category. So how are you ever going to elevate from that circle and from that position if all you're doing is trying to look wealthier instead of making yourself wealthier than those people you work around? Use the people in your workplace to realize whatever mistakes they've made. If they're moaning about debts, if they're moaning about bills, then you utilize what they're doing. You talk to these people. How did you get into this debt? What went wrong? Or not even what went wrong. How did you end up in this position? And understand, however they went into that position, whether it's through stupid expenditure, whether it's from an overly crazy lifestyle. Many people feel like they're missing out in their youth. Now, you can still save money and live a very happy, youthful life in your early days. Many people say, I regret not doing this in my teens. Well, guess what? If you make these sacrifices now for the rest of your life, you can do exactly this. You have not missed anything in your teens if you're working towards doing this for the rest of your life. Now, I still managed to do all of this whilst living a very good teenage life. I had lots of fun. I still partied all the time. But when sacrifices were needing to be made, I made those sacrifices. And now I know I can live the rest of my life on my own means, on my own accord, simply by making those sacrifices. Now, granted, I done it very early, but that's because I started working from early. From 14 years old approximately, I was already making an income. I was already learning. I was reading books. I was studying how to trade Forex. And then from there, started shifting into crypto. It all transitioned perfectly. But the only way I ever done this was because I purposely chased it every single day. If you're not purposely looking every single day of your life to better yourself and get out of the position you're in, you will never elevate from that position. And that's the note I'm going to leave you on. I hope this has been a motivating podcast. As you probably tell, I'm pretty fired up right now because this is one of my favorite subjects ever. And I just know no matter what the excuse is, no matter what excuse you give me, it's not acceptable. You can get out of this position. You have to get yourself out of there. Do not blame anyone else. It's no one's fault but yourself if you remain trapped within the 9-to-5 rat race. It's down to you, and I promise you, if every single day you are going out of your way to read a new book, to find a new source of information, to find a new business, a new investment opportunity, you are going to strike lucky. The more I try, the luckier I get. It's one of my favorite sayings ever. You can call people lucky all you want, but those lucky people, they have made their own luck. Yes, there are some people that have a little bit too much fortune for their own good, but I promise you, you miss 100% of the opportunities you do not take. So if you are not trying to make yourself luckier, you're not going to be luckier. It's like going to the gym. If the person who goes to the gym 24/7 has a six-pack and I end up being very fat from not going gym, well, I'm not going to say that person's lucky and they were genetically gifted. They've worked for that. They've gone to the gym every single day with the hopes and possibilities that their body will eventually transition into a better form or shape. So why are you not working every single day to better yourself, to form your life and mold it into a better shape? We are all in this game together. This is essentially a free-for-all online match on GTA. We're all given the same tools, the same starting point. Yes, you have a few wealthier families. Yes, you have the occasional odd few. So what? Their parents before them, their ancestors, have done what you need to do to obtain that wealth for their family. Anyone that's born wealthy, I'd never complain. I've never been jealous. I've never cared if someone's born wealthy because their family have had to work for it. And they've blessed their kids, they've blessed their grandchildren with that opportunity that they have worked for years down the line. That for me is another long-term outlook. Their ancestors probably slaved away, so the remainder of the family for generations to come can live an incredible life. Now, if you are not viewing the same outlook, you are not going to achieve and become that wealthy family in the long run. If you're not becoming wealthy, how do you think that wealthy family became wealthy? They killed themselves to get themselves to a point to establish themselves for the future. No one born wealthy was simply born wealthy out of nowhere. The parents may have been born wealthy, the grandparents may have been born wealthy, but that wealth was generated from somewhere. Now, if you are not in that wealthy position, you have to understand, you have to work exactly how their ancestors or their grandparents or their parents worked to achieve that same dream. Never ever look at someone else's wealth as a measurement. Do not ever be jealous. Jealousy will absolutely destroy your ability to achieve anything remarkable in life. Jealousy is an absolute disease. It's sickening and it will detriment anything you want to achieve. Instead, use these wealthy people as motivation. Use them as inspiration. Start networking with smarter people, the people that have a better pay job, the best successful people in your working environment. Just because they're working with you, they may be on a bigger wage, some of these people, especially in sales jobs. Look at the biggest seller, the person that closes the most deals at the end of the month, the person that makes the most commission. There are people who are working in cold calling jobs, selling phones, that make hundreds of thousands every year. People working in insurance and mortgages, making hundreds of thousands every year. What is it that makes those people different? They're thinking outside the box. If you're all given the same lead list, the same script, but someone is making hundreds of thousands more than you need to look at yourself, you need to look at that person, and you need to figure out what they're doing. And that's something I've always worked and understood in life. If I want to get somewhere, I need to look at the person that's doing it and figure out exactly what they're doing, because there is a code to life. This is like the Da Vinci, this is Houdini. There is a code that needs to be cracked. And those people that have achieved any form of success, whatever you measure success as in life, they have cracked that code. And your goal in life is to crack that code as well.